Richmond has a long history of consigning people it wanted to confine, kill, sell, or forget to the low ground of the Chaco Valley that splits the city in two. Hey, so one of the questions that always comes up when people take a voiceover class and they're thinking about entering the profession is, don't I need a booth? This is what's called a whisper room. It's a professional style 4x4 box that is constructed in such a way to make it relatively impervious to sound and to minimize the degree to which sound bounces around inside. And those are the two primary reasons why we have a sound booth for our work. Now, if we look at those two things, sound coming in from the outside and sound bouncing around while you're inside, those are handled by two very different mechanisms. Everybody knows about the foam, right? Got pyramid foam and triangle foam and egg crate foam. And what that is meant to do is, in an enclosed space, it's meant to keep sound from bouncing around. So if you've ever gone into a room of your house without furniture in it, or a gymnasium, because it's a large box, right? There's an echo in that room. And it comes from sound coming from you or your footsteps or whatever is in the room and hitting a wall and bouncing back and forth between walls. And that's what we call bounce or flutter when it comes to your voiceover space. To minimize that, that's what the foam is for. Sound that comes from inside the room to keep it from echoing and bouncing around. If you found a place in your house that you wanted to set up for a voiceover space, it would be important to make sure that solid surfaces, flat surfaces like hardwood floors or sheetrock walls, are not immediately opposite another wall without something in between to absorb or deflect that sound. The foam is made of an open core latex or synthetic, and it absorbs a certain amount of that vocal energy that's propagating through the air, because that's what sound does. It moves through the air, those waves, right? And so it absorbs some of it, but not all of it. So what the wedges do and the pyramids and the egg crates do is that any sound that's not absorbed, it bounces it in a different direction so that it doesn't slap against one wall back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Right? So foam takes care of what's in the room. But we also have noises that come from outside of the room. So for instance, my booth is in a bedroom in the middle of my house, but you may be able to see there's a little bit of light right over here coming from a window. That's my neighbor's yard. So if my neighbor goes out there and starts blowing leaves with a leaf blower, I can't work. And that is something we all have to deal with. You will never have a sound booth that is pristinely unintruded on by sound, okay? So we all have limitations. When you are picking your space in your house to do your voiceover work, the best choice is to pick a place that is as close to the interior of the building that you're in. So if you're in an apartment building, go toward the center wall, something that is like the firewall of your apartment, right? Or if you're in a house, an interior room that is inside another room. And that usually means a closet. Closets are fantastic, and they have a long history of being the places where people start their voiceover work, because they are inside a room that is inside of the house, right? So there's a lot of separation between the outside world and the inside world. And what you want to make sure you have is a door to close. That's essential, because remember we talked about it, sound propagates, it moves through the air. I do this because it's sound waves, right? And the way we stop it from propagating through air is put stuff in its place. So if we have a door to close, great. If there's a gap under the door, guess what that sound is going to do? Is going to come under that gap. So we want to close those gaps. We want to put some weather stripping around the door to keep the air from getting through, right? If you have a closet in a bedroom, go close the bedroom door as well, all right? So that way sounds from outside of the house have less chance of getting in. The other thing that you'll need to control is sounds inside the house. Kids playing, washing machines going, the television downstairs where your significant other insists on watching the ball game while you have, I'm not speaking personally, although maybe I am, while you have work to do, right? So ideally, you need to find a place that is as far away as possible and plan your work around those other people's activities, or just ask them to turn the volume down and stay quiet. Again, we all have these things to contend with. It doesn't mean that it's hopeless for you. It doesn't mean that, oh, I can't do this because I don't have a pristine space. No. We all have to work around noise intruding, but what do? We just back up and we start over. And that's the way this works. Inside that closet, remember, we talked about bounce, things bouncing around. What do you naturally have in your closet? You have clothes. So hang some clothes all around you so that sound doesn't bounce back and forth, but gets absorbed by the clothes. I've got shoe boxes in my closet that reflect that sound in different directions. And I make sure that there's just different objects in there so that sound gets scattered. And I always put a carpet on the floor. Now, let's say you can't afford a carpet because you don't want to go out and buy a special carpet for your closet. I use bath mats. Any bath mats that are not currently in front of that bathtub, I just lay out on the floor. They're big and they're poofy and they absorb sound. You can also just lay a blanket down on the floor for that. And so what this does is it minimizes the echo of your own voice in that room, and it also minimizes the likelihood that sound from the outside will penetrate the space that you're in. Now, it's never going to be perfect, but this is where you start. You start with what you have and use it as best you can use it. And as time goes on, you're going to find that every choice you make when you start is going to have a shortcoming, right? It's not going to be the perfect piece of equipment. It's not going to be the perfect space. It's not going to be the perfect microphone, right? But that's okay, because as you move forward in the profession, you slowly fix or replace the things that are causing you trouble. You improve your space as you go. The majority of your time when you start is going to be spent on two things. It's going to be spent on practicing, because you need to learn how to deliver copy in a way that is conversational, that expresses a powerful emotional need or a powerful emotional point of view. And you got to get it in time. And that takes time to develop. You're not going to step right into this and just start working. So what do? As you're learning, you practice. Practice working with copy. I use an iPad because it saves me on paper. But you should learn how to read aloud, right? As much as possible and as often as possible, so you develop an intuitive understanding of the patterns in which speech is written. And you start to let those patterns come in through your eyes and out through your mouth without having to think about them so heavily. At first, you're going to have to think, which is why we study all of the things we study in class. But eventually, in through the eyes, out through the mouth. The other thing you need to learn how to do is use a DAW, a D-A-W, a digital audio workstation. And I will provide you with a list of those that are free that can go on your computer so that you can learn how to edit your recordings, right? Record yourself and edit those recordings into the best take. Ideally, we want that to come from as few different takes as possible. Because if it takes you 10 clips from 10 different takes to construct your perfect spot, you got some work to do. Because ideally you want to get all the way through it and only have one or two things to go back and fix. Ideally, your perfect take should come from 2, maybe 3 spots that you've snipped together. But if you have to pull a sentence from here and a sentence from here and a sentence from here and a sentence from here, your skill set still needs to develop. But while you're developing that skill set, take the time to learn to use the audio workstation, the program that will help you to record and then edit those things together. Edit 10 spots together. It's okay, because every time you do that, you're learning how to use it, how to use fades, to fade in and fade out a clip so that there's no like pop when you move from one to the other. How to edit on mushy sounds like S and F and sh, and how to edit on the silences by inserting what we call room tone, which is a recording of the space that you're in, dead silent, so that there's something to fill that gap. All of those things are important to learn. But this is where we begin. And of course, you'll need a microphone. And don't go out and bust your bank. I don't even know that's a thing. But don't go and blow the bank account on a microphone that's extremely expensive. You don't need to. So you can get a blue Yeti. You can get a blue Snowball, which are both USB microphones that plug right into your computer and allow you to start recording right away. They are the ones to learn on. As you progress, as you start to get jobs that need more from you, they need you to connect via Source Connect. They need you to be able to record really good quality recordings because it's going into an environment where that matters, then that's when you'll want perhaps a better microphone and an audio interface to help you get that information into your computer to edit. But that's down the line. Don't worry about that right now. Just get a microphone that goes into a computer. Get a DAW, a digital audio workstation. Put all of those in your closet. Yeah, I know it's a big ask. But put it in your closet and then hang some coats, close the doors, and practice.